What if I told you that in just 12 weeks of doing what feels like an embarrassingly easy workout, the tiny power plants inside your muscle cells could grow by up to 40%? Not metaphorically, literally bigger, denser, more efficient mitochondria, visible under an electron microscope. And here's the kicker, you'd actually feel it. A lower resting heart rate, stairs that don't wreck you, a second gear that just shows up one Tuesday morning around week 8. Today we're talking about Zone 2 training, what the research actually shows, and why the world's best endurance athletes spend most of their time going slow on purpose. Let's get the definition right, because this is where most people go wrong. Zone 2 is the highest intensity at which your blood lactate stays below roughly 2 millimoles per liter. In plain English, it's the pace where you can hold a full conversation but you couldn't sing. It usually lands around 60 to 70% of your max heart rate, and it's dominated by your slow-twitch, fat-burning muscle fibers. The simplest test, and one that's actually validated in the research, is the talk test. Full sentences, no gasping. If you can only manage 3-word phrases, you've drifted too high. If you can belt out a chorus, you need to push a little harder. Wearables, by the way, can be off by 10 to 15 beats per minute in this zone, so don't trust them blindly. And the old 220 minus your age formula has an error of plus or minus 12 beats. The Tanaka formula, 208 minus 0.7 times your age, is more accurate, but perceived exertion still beats both. Now here's where it gets fun. A 2024 systematic review in sports medicine looked across hundreds of studies and found that endurance training increases mitochondrial content by about 23% on average. But individual studies using transmission electron microscopy, the gold standard, have found jumps of 55% in mitochondrial volume density after just 6 weeks. A separate study showed citrate synthase, a key mitochondrial enzyme, climbing 44% in 7 weeks. Succinate dehydrogenase, another marker, jumped 65%. So the 40% figure isn't hype, it's right in the meat of what consistent Zone 2 training produces. And here's a fascinating wrinkle from research published in 2017. Endurance training doesn't just make more mitochondria, it makes the existing ones bigger. Your power plants are being upgraded, not just multiplied. Underneath all this is a signaling pathway called PGC1-alpha. Zone 2 chronically activates it, which then tells your cells to build and remodel mitochondria. That's the molecular bridge between a slow bike ride and a stronger heart, sharper brain, and better blood sugar control. Most people start Zone 2 and feel absolutely nothing for the first 3 or 4 weeks. This is where almost everyone quits. But somewhere around week 6 to 8, something clicks. Your breathing slows at the same pace. Your heart rate at the same effort drops by 5 to 15 beats per minute. Hills that used to spike you into a gasping mess feel manageable. Studies tracking subjective measures show better mood, deeper sleep, less soreness, and what athletes describe as more headroom for hard sessions. Why the delay? Because mitochondrial biogenesis takes time. The signaling starts on day 1, but the structural changes, more capillaries feeding the muscle, bigger mitochondria, better fat oxidation enzymes, those need weeks to accumulate into something you can feel. I have to address this honestly. A 2025 narrative review titled Much Ado About Zone 2 and a University of Calgary trial both argue that high-intensity interval training produces faster mitochondrial gains per minute, and they're right. The sports medicine meta-analysis showed HIIT and sprint interval training delivering about 27% gains versus 23% for steady endurance work. So if you only have 20 minutes, HIIT is more time efficient, but here's the catch. HIIT is metabolically expensive. You can't do it 5 days a week without falling apart. Zone 2 is recoverable, which means you can stack a lot more total volume across a week. That's why elite cyclists like Tadej Pogacar, working with Zone 2 researcher Inigo San Millan, spend roughly 80% of their training time at this easy intensity, even though they race in Zone 4 and 5. The honest answer is that the best programs use both. One Zone 5 session per week, something like 4x4 minutes near max, paired with 2 or 3 Zone 2 sessions, gives you the best of both worlds. Here's the practical playbook. Start with 3 sessions per week, 45 minutes each for 12 weeks. That's 135 minutes a week, working toward 180. Research suggests 150 to 180 minutes weekly is the sweet spot for metabolic adaptations within 8 to 12 weeks. Pick a low-impact modality: stationary bike, incline walking, rowing, or elliptical. These let you hold the pace without drifting into the gray zone. Use the talk test every few minutes. If you're sweating heavily in the first 5 minutes, you're going too hard. Track progress with one simple metric: same route, same effort, lower heart rate. A 5 to 15 beat drop by week 12 means it's working. A few caveats: if you have known cardiovascular disease, an arrhythmia, or you're over 50 and sedentary, talk to your doctor before starting. If you take beta blockers or certain blood pressure medications, your heart rate is artificially suppressed, so use perceived exertion only. And don't go fasted if it makes the session feel grindy. Light carbs 30 to 60 minutes before keep the effort sustainable. Here's what I want you to take away. Mitochondrial dysfunction is implicated in type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, neurodegeneration, and the aging process itself. Zone 2 isn't just cardio, it's arguably some of the most accessible cellular maintenance available to a human being. And the research is especially encouraging if you're starting from out of shape. Meta-analyses show that the lower your starting fitness, the larger your percentage gains. So the couch to zone 2 beginner often outperforms the elite athlete in relative improvement. 3 sessions a week, 45 minutes, talk test pace, 12 weeks. Be patient through the first month, because the click usually arrives between weeks 6 and 10. If this was useful, give it a like and let me know in the comments whether you're Team Zone 2, Team HIIT, or smart enough to do both. Take care of those mitochondria, and I'll see you in the next one.